My name is Diana. That Christmas Eve, the house greeted me with icy silence. The only sole present was my grandmother, absorbed in the remains of her Christmas dinner. On the table, a terse note explained the inexplicable. We used your $9,000 loan for a family cruise. Take care of her. Grandma, with surprising serenity, murmured, We'll figure it out. For days, that was the tone, a silent plea that echoed off the walls of the house I had practically financed. It was supposed to be a Christmas like any other, as I had always promised and kept. When I pushed open the front door, the warmth and joy I had expected did not materialize. The tree sparkled, yes, the cheap plastic star blinked as if apologizing, but the silence was oppressive. No voices, no wrapping paper, no scent of cinnamon or burnt cookies, just the soft clink of a fork against a plate. Hello. I called hesitantly, entering. I'm here, honey, a soft, tired voice answered from the kitchen. I turned the corner, and there she was, Grandma, alone at the table in her purple knit sweater, a plate of cold stuffing and half a slice of ham in front of her. I blinked. Where is everyone? She didn't answer right away, just gave me a sad, toothless smile, sliding a folded note across the table. Her hands were shaking. I picked up the paper. It wasn't even in an envelope, just a torn piece of notebook paper with my name scrawled in black marker. We spent your $9,000 loan on a family cruise. Sorry. Take care of Grandma while we're gone. Love, Mom. I stared at the note, speechless. My brain had stopped processing anything other than loan and cruise. That money was for my dental surgery, which I had been saving for over a year. Grandma watched me with the wary attention of a soldier in a minefield. I guess they didn't think you'd care, she said softly, folding a napkin. They left yesterday. I sat down abruptly. The chair felt colder than the rest of the room. No warning, no phone call. They just took the money and left you here, I whispered. She gave a dry laugh. Oh, honey, you know they only call when they want something. I nodded slowly, my hands clenched under the table. This wasn't new, just more open. Grandma took a small sip of orange juice, looked me in the eye, and said, We'll figure it out. I didn't say anything, but inside something snapped, and something else, much colder, began to grow. Grandma went to bed early that night, saying she was tired, that her hips couldn't wait any longer. She kissed me on the cheek, patted my arm, and whispered, You were always the only one who stayed kind. And then she dragged herself away with that little limp that had come on after falling down the stairs 2 winters ago, the one that no one else had bothered to take her to rehab for. I was alone in that house for hours. No TV, no lights, just that note. That note, the loan, my money, the money I had worked night shifts, weekends, holidays, driving Ubers, doing freelance work, skipping meals, losing sleep for. $9,000 evaporated on a cruise. I opened the family group chat. Silence. Not even a Merry Christmas. I scrolled up. My mom's last message was from November. Don't forget to transfer the loan to Dad's account. We need to book it before prices go up. Loan. They never called it a gift because they knew it wasn't. I remembered my mom's voice when she'd floated the idea. It's just a short-term loan. We'll pay you back by February at the latest. You can always reschedule your dental appointment. I had nodded, because that's what I always did when they wanted money for Jacob's tuition. I nodded when they asked for help with Dad's gambling debt. I nodded when Laura needed rent after losing her job, aka quitting because her boss was mean. I always nodded. Because if I didn't, I was selfish, worthless, ungrateful. Because family comes first. Because after everything we've done for you, done for me? They kicked me out when I was 17 because I refused to lie for Jacob after he stole Grandma's painkillers. They didn't show up for my college graduation, too busy helping Elisa move into her boyfriend's apartment. They forgot my birthday 3 years in a row. But when it came to money, suddenly I was family again. The next morning I had my answers. They weren't just on a cruise. They were on the Blue Horizon, a luxury cruise ship sailing the Caribbean for 10 days. Balcony suite, private butler, access to the infinity pool, gourmet food. $3,000 per person. 4 of them. I know because Elisa posted a picture on Instagram when she must have forgotten to block me. All 4 of them in bathrobes, clinking glasses of champagne. The caption, finally some peace away from all the negativity. Negativity. I laughed out loud. They used my money, left Grandma with leftovers, and claimed to be far from negativity. This had to be a joke. That was the moment the last thread inside me snapped. I was no longer sad, or even angry. I was focused. That night, Grandma found me in the garage. I was hunched over Dad's old filing cabinet, surrounded by stacks of old bills and records. She said nothing, just watched as I flipped through decades of lies. I need to know everything, I told her. Where the money went, what they did, who was involved. She sat down next to me, pulled out a faded notebook, and began flipping through the pages. Let's start with 2016, she said. That's when your mom took my bank pin. By midnight, we had numbers. The next day, we had a plan. They arrived in the driveway like royalty. The same people who had left Grandma and me behind with a note and a refrigerator full of rancid leftovers. Now they were returning home like heroes returning from war. Their laughter filled the house before the door even opened. Elisa entered first, dragging a designer suitcase, her hair braided with ribbons, her nails freshly manicured. Ugh, I'm so glad to be back. That last dinner on the ship gave me hives. Behind her, my mother entered with the elegance of a soap opera villain, sunglasses still on her face indoors. Did you even clean up a little? Did you even clean up a little? She asked, stepping on her grandmother's shawl like it was trash. Dad followed close behind, his face red and swollen from the cruise buffets. He grunted when he saw me. Oh, you're still here? Jacob entered last. Didn't even notice his grandmother, just dumped his bags near the couch and collapsed onto it. I said nothing, sitting at the table, hands clasped together, calm, ready. Where's the food? Mom asked, scanning the kitchen as if it were her own. In the fridge, I said. There's still plenty of that ham you guys left. Jacob laughed. Still on that, he muttered. Dude, just order a pizza, it's not like you're broke. I stood up slowly. I'm glad you're all here. Sit down, I have something to show you. Jacob rolled his eyes but plopped down in a chair. Dad cracked his knuckles. Elisa was too busy finding an outlet to charge her phone. I turned the laptop screen toward them and clicked play. The first video, a spreadsheet. Not just any spreadsheet, a financial audit I'd built over 4 days with Grandma. Every dollar transferred from her retirement account, every ATM withdrawal made with her card at the gas stations Dad always used, every Zelle payment Elisa requested to cover emergencies that turned out to be luxury beauty products and expensive electronics. Where did you get that? Mom asked, her voice suddenly tense. From your bank, I said. You should be more careful about using someone else's password. The second video, screenshots of financial transactions, account logins from Mom's devices, access points corresponding to Dad's gambling habits, and then emails. Mom texting Elisa, she won't notice the missing cruise deposit. She trusts us too much. Elisa responding, she's a wimp, and decides, who leaves Grandma alone on Christmas? My jaw clenched, but I kept going. I could stop here, I said, but I won't. One more file of voice recording. Laura, Jacob's wife, standing on our porch 2 nights ago, sobbing. I didn't want to go, I begged him, but Jacob said if I didn't give him the money, they'd just leave her and deal with it later. I only kept quiet because he said it would all blow over. I'm sorry, I couldn't take it anymore. Jacob jumped up. You recorded my wife? That's illegal. No, I said, she asked me to. She said she was tired of lying for you, tired of watching you suck people dry. Dad stood up now, his face red with anger. You little snake. You've been snooping through our accounts like someone who doesn't want to be ripped off anymore. I snapped. I opened one last tab, a pre-written email with the subject line formal report of elder financial abuse, evidence attached. The recipients, the Social Security Fraud Division, Grandma's lawyer, the county ombudsman, and 2 local newspapers. You have 48 hours, I said, my voice firm, to return every penny, or I'll send you all of this. Elisa's hands were shaking. You're bluffing. You'd ruin your own family. No, I said. You ruined yourselves. I'm just sending you the bill. Grandma slowly stood up. She hadn't said a word in all this time, but now she walked to the head of the table, put her hand on the back of a chair, and said, I raised 3 of you, fed you, changed you, protected you. And when I couldn't walk anymore, You left me with frozen beans and moldy pie while you drank champagne with stolen money. You're lucky it's her after you. Because if it were just me—" Her voice trailed off, but the silence in the room was deafening. The message was clear. Dad muttered something inaudible and stormed off. Elisa cried and tried to hug Grandma, who pulled away. Jacob just glared at me. "You're not family anymore." I smiled. "No, I'm finally free." They didn't believe I would do this. They thought I was bluffing. Even after I left that email in front of them, even after Grandma glared at them with eyes filled with silent, ancient rage, they still thought they could trick me, manipulate me, wear me down. But that version of me, the quiet one, the one who nodded and paid and said, "Thanks for the crumbs," died when they spent $9,000 of my savings on piña coladas and a cruise ship buffet. The first 24 hours were silent. No messages, no apologies, just Grandma and me in that empty, too-quiet house, eating microwaved oatmeal and taking turns checking the bank account. Nothing came. On the second day, I sent the email. Every file, every screenshot, every recording attached and dated, sent to state authorities and copied to every newsroom within a 60-mile radius. At 6:13 p.m., I got a response, "Thank you for your submission. A case has been opened." On the third day, everything exploded. Jacob was the first to panic. I woke up to 10 missed calls and a barrage of texts that ranged from, "That's not what we meant," to, "Are you seriously about to destroy your own family over some money?" Then came the classic mom line, "You're being emotional, please take it down, we'll talk." But I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded each text to my lawyer, a woman named Kasia, who read them all with the cold precision of a surgeon. She'd been working with Grandma's legal counsel since the day I recorded Laura's confession. By noon that day, Kasia sent official letters of intent to sue my parents, Jacob and Elisa. She wasn't bluffing either. The charges: elder financial abuse, unauthorized access to retirement accounts, embezzlement of family loans. The amount due, with interest and damages, $15,718.30. The next night, Mom appeared at the door. She looked like she hadn't slept, her makeup off, her hair tied up in a messy bun. "Can we talk?" she asked, her voice shaking. I crossed my arms. "Only if you brought a checkbook." She reached into her purse and pulled out a large envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for $9,000, the amount of my loan. "No interest?" I asked. "You're lucky you're getting that," she snapped. "We're being destroyed by this mess you've created. You're turning your back on your own mother." "No," I hissed, storming out, slamming the door behind me. "I'm finally turning my back on a thief." Later that week, Elisa called me on her work phone. She was crying, saying the article had started circulating. The headline, "Family Steals Disabled Grandmother's Pension. Abandons Her for Christmas. Grandson Fights Back." It had 42,000 shares overnight. Elisa's employer, a boutique marketing firm, was not thrilled with the publicity. Her name was all over the screenshots. The message about leeches and negativity had become a meme. "I'm being fired," she screamed. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" "Return the favor," I replied. "Now pay your share." She paid in 4 installments. I made her send proof of payment each time, no shortcuts. Jacob was the last to fall. At first, he acted untouchable. "My boss doesn't care," he boasted on social media. "It's all fake, really." But then Laura left him. She filed for divorce, saying she wasn't going to let her kids grow up in a house where lying and stealing were the norm. She called me that same day. "I'm sorry it took so long," she whispered, "but I've seen the real him now." I asked if she needed help finding a place. She hesitated, then said, "Only if it's not a string to be attached." I smiled. "Then yes, because you did the right thing." 2 days later, Jacob showed up at my door, clean-shaven, tired, furious. "You crazy woman," he hissed. "You ruined everything." "No," I said, handing him a court letter. "You ruined it." Kasia had just filed a wage garnishment. He tried to tear it in half and throw it back at me. I didn't budge. "Pay every penny," he said, "or we'll freeze your accounts." "I'm not bluffing. Ask him." By the end of the second week, all the money was returned. $9,000 from Mom and Dad, $3,500 from Elisa, including interest, $3,000 from Jacob, after a loan from his own boss. A humiliating total of $15,500 and some change. I used $4,000 to finally get my dental surgery, another $2,000 to buy Grandma a proper booster chair and hire a home health nurse. The rest went into an interest-bearing escrow account in Grandma's name, which only she and I had access to. When I showed her the paperwork, she cried. "They took everything from me," she whispered, "but they didn't take you." And just like that, I had won. Not just the money, not just the legal battle, I had reclaimed myself. The weight I had carried for years, the guilt, the obligation, the silent shame of being less loved, all fell off like an old coat, and I stood taller than I had in years. They stopped calling, and you know what? For the first time, the silence had a pulse. Not the panicked silence of guilt, not the heavy silence of shame, but a clean, surgical silence, the kind that comes after you've finally excised something infected. The money was back, the house was quiet, Grandma was finally sleeping through the night again, not waking every hour in fear that someone would break in and steal the last of her dignity. And I was becoming someone they couldn't control. In the weeks after the crash, I didn't just collect money, I collected my life. I quit my draining job, took a remote contract that paid better and gave me my hours back. I took Grandma to her favorite place, a dusty old diner with checkerboard floors and the worst coffee in the state. She laughed more in 1 hour than I'd seen her laugh in 5 years. "I miss this," she said, dipping her fries into her milkshake. "You mean your arteries miss this?" I teased. She shrugged. "I'd rather die laughing with you than choke on shrimp cruises with those snakes." Fair enough. But even peace has its ghosts. They didn't call, but they spoke. Oh, how they spoke. Elisa posted on Facebook that some people don't understand what forgiveness means, paired with a photo of her lighting a candle in church. Mom told distant relatives that I had manipulated Grandma in her old age. She left out the part about using Grandma's pension to pay for her plastic surgery. Jacob, oh Jacob, he had completely lost it, posted a video about toxic siblings with Succession audio, acting like he was the betrayed heir to some failed empire. The caption read, "Some people would rather see you fall than rise with you." I laughed for 10 minutes straight. Rise with you? You tried to burn me alive and dance in the ashes. They wanted to rewrite history, but I had the receipts and I wasn't going back into the shadows. The turning point came 3 weeks later. I was at the grocery store with Grandma, pushing the cart, filling it with cans of soup and ginger ale, when a woman approached us. Older, elegant, clearly familiar. "I'm sorry," she said, looking directly at me. "Are you the one in the article?" I tensed. She smiled. "The one who saved Grandma?" I blinked. I think so. "Yes," she looked at Grandma, then back at me. "I just wanted to say thank you for standing up, for not keeping quiet." My mom. They did the same thing to her, but no one fought for her. I wish someone had. She touched my arms gently, briefly, and then pulled away. I turned to Grandma. She was frozen, her hand on the soup can, tears welling in her eyes. "I didn't think anyone would see us," she whispered. "Now they see," I said. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about money, or revenge, or proving I wasn't a loser. This was about finally saying the truth out loud. The best part? I was done explaining myself. I didn't have to shout anymore. The truth had already spread across the world, dragging their names behind it like a garbage bag opening on the pavement. Every time they posted, people remembered. Every time they lied, someone in the comments reminded them of who they really were. Mom tried to rebuild her image. She started an Instagram account about cooking recipes. But after the first few posts, someone commented, "How did you pay for the kitchen?" With stolen retirement money. She'd disappeared from social media soon after. Jacob tried to get a new job, but failed the background check. Apparently, the garnishment orders scared the company. Oops. Elisa disappeared for a while, then resurfaced with a new Instagram username, m_life_set. She posted yoga photos, inspirational quotes, and claimed to be cutting out toxic people, which was hilarious because I didn't cut her out, I exiled her. Months passed. I moved into a new apartment, quiet, clean, filled with hand-me-down furniture I'd picked out myself. Nothing they'd picked out, nothing they'd touched. I brought Grandma with me, a room for herself, one for me. She decorated hers with old photos and a blanket she'd crocheted in 1993. She called it the fort. One night, she knocked on my door. "I have a question," she said, sitting up slowly on the bed. "When you saw that note, the one they left, why didn't you just leave? Why did you stay?" I thought for a moment, then said, "Because I remembered who I was before they made me forget." She looked at me for a long time, then nodded. "I'm proud of you, honey." And that broke me more than any insult they'd ever shouted, because she meant it, and because no one else in that family ever did. Weeks later, I met Laura outside a coffee shop. She seemed healthier, lighter, happier. She told me she was taking night classes, working toward a certification, trying to build something of her own. "I didn't know I could live like this," she said, "without being afraid of what he would do next. You gave me that." I didn't know what to say. She leaned closer. "You changed more than just your life, you know." I nodded silently, and maybe for the first time I believed it. They had destroyed their own name trying to bury mine. And me? I stopped waiting for them to call me family and started building one with the people who never made me beg for love. And now I sleep peacefully with all the lights off, because I'm no longer afraid of what they'll take away. They've already taken everything, and I've gotten it back. Did you relate to Diana? Let us know in the comments. If you liked this story, please like and share this video and subscribe for more amazing stories.